enjoy.
Great. Thank you, Carol. Thank you so much for that. Hi, everyone. Welcome to VCTV, the Venture Capital TV from LATOKEN. It's called Venture Capital TV, where we connect startups with investors like yourself. Today, we're going to cover a unique topic, unique to myself, because this is the first time I'm hosting this topic. It's on property, real estate, and construction, the technology around these three areas and the investments into it. Before we start the panel and introduce the speakers, I would like to introduce myself. For those who do not know me, myself, Sunny Mohanty. I'm the Regional Director of LATOKEN, and I'm based here in Singapore. And I welcome you all today to our show. So as I do always, I like to start traveling from Asia all the way to the US. That's how I fly. So today we have, somebody from Singapore as well. So very excited to have him first time on our panel, Farhan. Hi, Farhan. Welcome to VCTV. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you.
Great, Farhan. Farhan, could you just start a short intro about yourself before I go to other speakers? Thank you.
Right. So I'm Farhan Firdaus, partner and head for venture building at Meet Ventures. So what we do essentially is we focused on innovation, incubation, and investments. So with regards to innovation, mainly we work with corporates, right? Who want to enter Southeast Asia. So that's innovation work. Mainly is to connect them with high potential startups. So we talk about incubation. What we do is we work very closely with some of the top universities in Asia. So actually top 5 to curate entrepreneurship education for budding entrepreneurs. And in terms of investment, which is why we're here today, or I'm here today, is basically so as our first fund, we are focusing on Proptech investments, and so basically it's something that we're building the fund at the moment, but we are already making investments with our partners in Singapore. So mainly we're focusing on Asia. So it could be any Proptech companies from Asia that has interest in Southeast Asia. So that's what we do in a nutshell. And Meet Ventures, I mean, you see my background, we're a partner of Slingshot. It is the largest entrepreneurship competition in Southeast Asia. And also we are part of Switch, which is the largest startup festival. So that's me in a nutshell.
Great, I like your background. We know Enterprise Singapore. Thank you for that introduction. Next, I'm going to travel from Singapore to India. So hi, Amit. This is your first time as well on VCTV, and you are in Gurgaon, right? I mean, the city of buildings, all the buildings, big buildings, real estate. I mean, sorry to say that, but that's the perception I have as non-resident residential Indian. Sorry about that. I mean, a little small talk before we start with other speakers and traveling further west. I would like to ask you to intro yourself.
Sunny, good to be part of this panel. So just to give you a little bit about our company, so we are an investment management and an asset management platform who also does portfolio advisory for large HNIs and family offices. So we've been consistently investing into the Proptech ecosystem for the last 15 years, and now venturing into tokenization and fractional ownership of real estate. So that's about us. So great to be here.
Awesome, Amit, because we would like our audience to know more about it, because we have startups. I think I've been already contacted by a startup who's looking to raise funds by tokenizing real estate in UK.
That's the trend.
Yes. Thank you, Amit, and welcome to VCTV. We're going to hear more from you on that. So next I have, from India, like from Singapore to India, I go west and I land with Luis. Hi, Luis. It's the first time you're attending VCTV on a Asia panel with me. So welcome, first of all, to VCTV in Singapore. Please help introduce yourself to our audience.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And just in brief, I've been involved in
finance for over a quarter century. FJ Partners, we're a private equity firm. I'm a managing partner with the firm. We are heavily geared towards technology, and we're doing a lot of things in that world with artificial intelligence, augmented reality, collaboration platforms, blockchain, and a few other things. Today, we're speaking about construction tech, property tech. You know, Proptech hasn't really flown yet, but property tech technology and real estate technology. So I look forward to the conversation. I know Irina has a lot to add to this, so I'm gonna pass this over to her.
Thank you, Luis. And I really like the background you have because it's not a virtual background. So
no, real.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, Irina, I mean, my friend. I mean, I have to call you my friend now, Irina, if you don't mind. we. I think it's like catching up every morning, your morning and my evening. Irina, welcome back to VCTV. Just in case people just missed out past 2 sessions in Asia, so please help introduce yourself. Thank you.
Yeah, pleasure. Pleasure to be back. I really am enjoying my new routine, waking up and starting the day with this. It's still dark outside. I start hearing the roosters, singing their song. So it's really lovely. My name is Irina Lichfield. Many know me as a crypto superwoman. I am founder of Blockchain Cubed, which is a blockchain integration architecture firm. So if you need something built that is a high-level architecture solution in blockchain for your industry, we got it. And I'm a president of Lumeria, which is where capital meets innovation, growth stage companies. I just had a good news too. It looks like we will be taking in some of the earlier stage companies as well, which is really exciting to me because, the growth companies, small market cap in the world, we just need to have a different subject about it because the small market cap is dying and it's a problem. And, so while it's important to work on that, the starting companies have that still excitement about life and, they think that they haven't gotten beaten yet by the reality. So it's exciting to be able to help the early stage companies and get them into a point to where they can be in a growth cycle and actually not have to deal with not be beaten by reality the way that, the ones that are from before then.
Okay, good to know that. And congratulations for moving from growth stage to early stage. I mean,
Oh, we're still doing it. We'll be taking in some early stage companies.
Got it.
Yeah, it's still we're still doing the growth
okay,
stage.
Got it. Thank you, Rina. Thank you so much for introducing yourself. So you're all set, and we are ready to take the questions and share insights about the trends happening in the space. So I would like to start with Farhan. Could you share the current trends happening in the space of real estate, property tech, construction tech? I mean, with focus on a particular sector, if you wish to do so, please do so. Thank you.
Thanks, Sunny. Well, I think it's a great panel that we have here because I think in our discussion or our sharing of trends or any other stuff that we want to talk about, I think it will be quite vast because I'm supposed to be covering all the 10 countries in ASEAN, which is quite broad, and probably a little bit of China, and then we have Amin in India, and then the whole of US, Luis and Irina. So I think it's very interesting because whatever that I share, it might not be the same with whatever that you're looking at. So let me begin. Now, in all honesty, so for Meet Ventures, we like to do things general, right? So because we started as an innovations company, and the partners like myself, I'm a venture builder. My partner, basically he's more of an accelerator guy, innovation, ex-corporate guy from KPMG. And then he was also managing SG Innovate, which is a $200 million fund. So yeah, with that kind of background, I think we like to do things general, right? But I think, our foray into Proptech, which is very, very new, very young, it's something that we decided to do this year, right? Property tech investments. And there is a reason for it. It's because we were approached by potential investors, or rather investors that wanted to commit to develop this space, right? Because if you look at Singapore itself, so we just look at Singapore itself, which is a small country, but we have a lot of construction companies here. We have 100 plus over contractors, main contractors, 15,000 subcontractors, and most of them are basically still quite, I would say, conventional in the approach to construction. That's just construction. And you have the property management side, you have all the other side, but I think mainly money comes from construction. So I think for us, the fact that we were approached to basically assist with this situation, and of course our partner is for the Proptech investments, has been in the space since pre-war, pre-World War II. So they have seen real estate in Singapore since, I think, more than 70 years. So that signals something, right? And I think what's interesting for me, I'm very passionate about startup developments, small and medium enterprises and family businesses. I feel that the change, make no mistake, there will be. So what we're doing is, I would see that we're probably going to be one of the few pioneers in this space. And we are, basically, I think as investors, we're just enablers, right? And in all honesty, the mandate that Meet Ventures has with regards to, property tech investments is very much not just to invest, but, we see it as very integral towards the future of the real estate or the built environment space in Southeast Asia at least. So we're not just going to invest. I believe that I think for us we have the pipeline to even build an ecosystem, because we can't just like, okay, I like you, I invest. Okay, you're good. Numbers work out well. I'll invest in you. I think if we just do that and we don't build the pipeline, it becomes very, very challenging. Down the road, I think the propensity to fail is very high. So, when we decided to embark on this, I would say that, we felt that we had to bring in all the big players. So the big players have to be on the table with us. If they don't invest, like say, for example, if they don't invest in the fund, it's fine. But we just want their buy-in that, if you don't invest, it's fine. But if it's going to help your business, why don't you employ these Proptech startups to help you in, some parts of your construction or built environment. So that brings me back. I hope that whatever I've shared has shed a little bit of light on the trend. So I think what I'm trying to say is that at least in Southeast Asia, it is still quite nascent, okay? But there have been some companies, startups that have succeeded. You don't see too many unicorns in PropTech in Southeast Asia. I think probably your hands can count, your fingers can count, right? And one is in the Philippines. They do, I would say, they do construction materials, right? And then, and of course we have, if I don't mention Property Guru, then I would do a big sin. Property Guru again. But again, that highlights the trend. And what is the trend? The property tech companies that have been around have very much revolved around marketplaces. So I think, listing of properties is popular, and then now we're seeing a little bit more like, listing of interior design and architecture. So that is there. Personally, for me, if the startups can think of something better, I would take this kind of marketplaces. But if they're just going to bring in the same things, I would rather them go back to the drawing board. But we're seeing other things as well, such as facility management. Right, we're seeing IoT smart appliances. So like we have Igloo Home, they come from Singapore. So very cheaply you can have a very digital smart home with a smart lock, etc. So we're seeing a bit of that, and I think just without hogging the time, the last point that I want to share is that mainly these startups are focusing more on, again, like I said, marketplaces. So it is my hope that we move towards other things, maybe a little bit more into architecture, maybe a little bit more into facility management. We're seeing this, which is why at Meet Ventures, even for myself, I'm very hands-on. Even if we haven't invested in them, we'll sit down, we'll listen, give a little bit of advice. So once they've onboarded, then that's when we try to build the ecosystem, right, to plug them in. So I think that is our responsibility, because I don't see it as just an investment play, because if we don't do this, it will be very challenging. And I think just one last point is that a lot of the Proptech startups are very much B2C in nature, right? And yeah, very much B2C nature. And this is at least in Southeast Asia. So the startups are focusing more on the consumers directly. And it's it's easily explainable. The reason why is because, as I've mentioned, we have more than 15,000 contractors and stuff just in Singapore. My point of view is that Singapore is a developed nation, right? So, and of course, we are surrounded by other countries in ASEAN, which are at different stages of development. And, because we are, I would say, more technologically advanced, economically strong, right? If we are backward in these areas, what more our brothers and sisters in the emerging markets? Yeah, so I guess in that sense, we also have to be the flag bearers. For example, if you look at safety management, Singapore is leading in Southeast Asia. So I think, the reason why B2C is very big and not so much B2B is because there is not much buy-in by the all the other construction players. So I hope this covers a little bit of insight of the space. Yeah.
Sure. Just a quick question. You said that there are not many unicorns in the PropTech startup area, and why would that be?
In Southeast Asia, yeah. So for example, if you were to look at startups in general, I think there are a few, but I think if you look at PropTech itself, I think, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, we have very good speakers as well today, and I hope to learn from you as well, because you come from the other side of the world. I would say that, I think as a whole, if you look at the different industries, so for example, we know that fintech is very hyped. Fintech is very bought in, it is growing, it has very good buy-in. Digital payments itself, it's everywhere. But if you look at, for example, PropTech, I think it is still, if I may use the word, at the stage of infancy, right? It is growing at its own pace, but which is why I feel that we need to have buy-in. And the reason why fintech is moving so fast, developing so rapidly, is because of buy-in. So, so I think that's where, if you look at, so I think it's important, because the growth of PropTech is not just, contingent on consumers, but it's also on, in every business you have B2C, B2B, B2G, right? And so on. Yeah, so I think in that sense, technology-wise, I know it's still developing.
Yeah.
In terms of customer base, it's still developing. So probably, I'm no expert in unicorns, although I keep a lookout. I have my staff from different parts of Southeast Asia keeping a lookout. But I would say that, probably that's why we don't have too many PropTech unicorns. Ponies, we do. Probably there are some ponies here and there, but probably because, as I mentioned, industry, we're still quite infant, and the consumer side is still growing.
Got it. Thank you so much. I think you've shared a lot of insights, very useful. Thank you so much, Farhan. And so now we'd like to hear from a startup perspective from Amit. Amit, what's the current trends in real estate? I mean, which regions do you cover? Is it only India, or you cover outside of India as well?
Okay, so right now we focused on India, but India, so to say, in Southeast Asia is also one of the most fragmented and disorganized market in terms of real estate. Having said that, we're seeing a lot of movement happening from one phase of PropTech to another, and that is shuffling very fast. So we're seeing technology innovation happening on the primary market side with Property Guru, Anarock, Square Yard, a lot of good companies trying to digitalize the entire primary sales perspective, to moving on to property management then. And from property management to further to co-living, which has also become, which has also done a lot of innovation in the space, and now further moving on to fractional ownership, which is the latest trend. So we see a lot of dynamic action happening in India, specifically in Southeast Asia. In terms of the markets between China and US, these two markets have seen quite a few unicorns in terms of every specific segment. So India is still to go that way, but we see a lot of new companies, new startups coming every now and then into different various segments. A lot of technology innovation happening across the spectrum on all of that. And the recent one to join, of course, the what you say is the bill is the tokenization and fractional ownership, and that is happening across the board. So in America, the trend started about 4 years back, where there was crowd fund, there is reality mogul, there is Fundrise, quite a few companies who started tokenization, and now it's actually spread all over the world. So you'll see that happening in Middle East on a residential apartments tokenization. You see that happening in India now. You know, there are two startups we've recently been funded by top VC funds on commercial real estate investments, tokenization, which is yielding assets. And the venture which we are launching as well is very similar to what Reality Mogul and Cloudrise is doing in US, is to bring institutional grade investments to retail investors. And you know, it's entirely online, it's hassle-free, it's digital, so all of that. You know, so we are seeing digitalization happening across segments. But what I completely agree with Farhan, that there has never been, you know, a consistent proprietary push into one particular segment. And that is why we don't see a lot of unicorns in the new markets. But unicorns, like in China, which is a developed Proptech country, or America for that matter, or US, you see quite a few unicorns in each of these segments.
Right. So yeah, excellent insights, especially the tokenization of real estate. Would like to know more about that, because obviously we heard about, like when I was in Middle East last year during pre-COVID, and I've met so many hedge fund managers. You know, they were interested to invest into STOs and tokenization of real estate. We can talk about that more later from you, from you later. So we just covered Asia, Southeast Asia, India. Now we're going to move to West and see what's the trends in the other side of the world, which is the US. Louis, since you've just come, you know, for the first time on VCTV Asia, we'd like to know from you, your perspectives about the trends in the space.
Okay, I'm going to go through it in brief. You know, property technology, construction technology, these are the two areas that I see having a lot of legs to it. You know, with property technology, you're talking about compliance and efficiency. You know, these portals that are being created, they're bringing that to the table, from buying to leasing to renting to property management. These portals that are creating ease of use and increasing efficiency for the property managers, for whoever, you know, is dealing with it. This is where a lot of opportunity is going to come in. Okay, I don't want to go too much into real estate tech, because you know that's something different. Construction technology, you're going to have a lot of opportunity there. You know, this is stuff that we're looking at. Okay, you know, you're talking about saving time, money, increasing productivity. You know, in construction, you have mobile. It allows you to move around. You have it on your pad. You can go and move around from place to place, and you can see what's happening in real time. You can communicate things in real time. You'll save a lot of money, save a lot of time, and you don't have your workers having to go and do things that normally they would have to do. They don't have to do it anymore. So you're saving time and money, and that aspect. So applications that are doing that, this is where an opportunity is at. Drones, of course, for surveys and stuff like that. That's important, because sometimes the landscape isn't that easy, where the guy can just go with the machine and survey it like that. Sometimes you need drones to go into that. So that's another opportunity. Probably, you know, one of the biggest opportunities is going to be building information modeling. That's like CAD on steroids, where you can, you know, they have layers and layers of metadata that are created, and this allows you to transition into virtual reality and augmented reality, and creating environments where you can, again, be more productive, and you can see a project to the end, and you can create these virtual reality environments for, I don't know, prospective buyers, for investors, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of opportunity in these areas. I just wanted to touch on these things because I think it's important. I think the more informative this show is, the more people will get out of it. I want to pass the ball over to Irene. I don't want to take too much time here.
Yeah, sure. But just before I pass the floor to, I just want to ask you one question. Do you think the market in the US is more mature than Asia?
I think Asia, you have the market that's a little more mature. I think in the United States, they're just starting to embrace this technology, and it's interesting. You would think it would be the other way around, but I think that we're at the infancy. We're at the infancy of all of this, in property technology. That's one thing. Construction technology, that's where you're going to see a lot of ramping up because people want to build things more efficiently. Smart cities, smart homes, things like that. When these things come to pass, you're going to have this connectivity with 5G coming around. This connectivity is going to be crazy. And this technology is going to be at the forefront of everything when it comes to the building of everything. So people are going to look for the efficiency, the saving time, money, and making everything on point for the communities.
Great. Thank you, Luis, for that sharing those insights. Last but not least, we have a speaker, my favorite, and that's why I just try to have her in the last so that I can hear more from her. Irina, over to you.
Thank you. I agree. It's so amazing how people think, in US, you would think that we are much more evolved in our practices of building materials and kind of how do we build and how we look at the real estate tech and the construction tech and, just the whole property. But we're pretty, that I think that's just the whole industry is very slow moving and not very adaptable to new innovations. And, that's kind of what we see. That was the reality. I think that our experience of life in the last however many months, have demonstrated to us that a lot of things that we were doing are no longer working. And one of the things that I like to think about, and one of my portfolio companies is a solution for this, is really making sure that we build with materials that can be highly recyclable, right? So because when we look right now at the construction, it becomes outdated very, very fast, right? So you get something new, it becomes outdated pretty fast. And then we really do not have ability to recycle. We really don't. And our materials are not very much durable, right? So, of course, the metal frames and all that, it stays, but they're not very durable. And if you want to upgrade your house, if you want to change things in your house, you have to go through whole reconstruction. So I think the ability to be able to move pieces and be able to kind of adapt your home, your house, your space, your workspace, whatever it is going to be highly, highly valuable, right? Because our lives change, we change, our dynamics change. And so we constantly kind of want to change things up. And then it becomes extremely expensive, painful. And so I'm seeing a lot of movement into that. Now, interestingly, space industry, providing a lot of interesting, innovative solutions to making basic. The way I think about smart home is that it's smartly built, it's smartly operated, and then it's smartly reconfigured, right? So if you can build, live in, and then reconfigure with ease, we can solve so many problems in the world. Now, it sounds like a pipe dream that's far away, but it really is not, because when we dive into the realities of technologies, the construction tech especially is lagging so much that it's just a matter of adoption.
Yeah.
And we're seeing we're starting to see funds, we're starting to see builders to kind of say, okay, I am interested in this. And then it just needs to become a marketing thing, right? Like once it's a good marketing, once people pay dollar for it, everything changes. Now, space industry. Why space industry? Because when we talk about going to the moon, and for now we're just talking about for the moon, right? And I know Elon is talking about the Mars and he wants to live on the Mars, but right now the biggest challenge for us is to go back to the moon and then this time stay on the moon and develop the moon. And so the industry been prepared in that. And in order for us to do that, we have to have materials, building materials that are not just durable, but also recyclable and reprintable, right? And 3D printing now, right now, there's a lot of waste happens with that. And then you still have to it's really hard to recycle with the 3D printing. We can do very durable titanium with aluminum materials and print to like the particles with the density that can allow you to go and, build airplane wings. And I mean, all that is available, it's there, and it's on the back end of the world, it's all coming up and it's all going. And, one of the big opportunities that I'm seeing in real estate development right now, a couple of dear friends of mine are big real estate developers. So, I always get the download from them. So, but basically we're seeing these new experiences that people are aching for. And that is, to exercise the right to gather, but to do it outdoors. So people want to be able to go watch a movie. People want to be able to go and see the concert, right? People want to be able to go and participate in things. And the way everything outlined right now is that for the most part, it's indoors and it's very dense. So we're seeing a huge push right now for this green, ecological, big properties basically are built in a way to where amphitheater maybe is designed in a circle, right? So you can have more spacing. And so like the real estate development that I'm seeing now looks like the future that kind of I thought that, well, that would be amazing to have it like maybe in 50 years. That development is happening now because we're forced into re-engineering the way we design. We are forced to re-engineer, to rethink the way we interact. And so a lot of opportunities there. And it's not a real estate, but I just have to mention it. And this is for America, guys. 60% of farmers, okay, are over 65 years old. We're going to see the biggest transfer of wealth in next 10 years through real estate. Now, farmers' children do not want to do farming. So farmers are going to be dying and the farms will be bought on auctions. And so we're seeing right now, we're seeing a huge push toward people buying farmland. And I mean, there's amazing projects for that are happening. And that's where I think that the tokenized fractional ownership comes in a lot, because, you know, if we take a section, and section is about 500 acres. So in US, we measure land in sections, okay? So, well, you measure it in square feet, in, you know, in square miles, and then you measure it in sections. So it's like depending which progress of, you know, you're going through. But basically, let's say we take a section, and, you know, when you buy bigger plots of land, you pay less money, right, for per acre. And so tokenization allows you to be able to come in and fractionize that ownership. And then you can do many different things. You can actually create a regenerative farm, which is, you know, a lot of talks, a lot of stuff happening in that way. You guys will hear me talk a lot about that. One of my portfolio companies is on the way to make sure we implement regenerative farming. But what it allows you to do to either do regenerative farming and share the benefits, or you can actually own the land fractionally, right? And because it's through the smart contract, it allows you to eliminate all the lawyer fees, Propy is a great solution for real estate transfer, right? It's a Silicon Valley company. They've been in business for now almost 3-4 years. They came out, I believe, in 2017. And I mean, they're creating solutions. They have clients all the time, so they're working. It's not it is a working solution. And one more thing I want to add to it in 2017, going into 2018, once we realized that things were in a crypto space, kind of the tokens were, there were a lot of empty tokens. People started really looking at the smart contracts, the single source of truth technology to apply to real estate because it's such a perfect solution. However, 2018 began to be a down cycle, okay? And naturally, people were not, while they were interested, the traction quite did not take it. So I believe that we're going to see a huge push into that real estate security token, right? Like the property rights token. I'm not talking about, token that doesn't really give you anything, just a right to maybe lease something, which is also useful, by the way. It can be built in the model, but it allows, I think that we're going to see that as a push first because it's much needed. It benefits people. It allows you to provide housing for people that otherwise do not have ability to buy a house, nor will they ever have it, right? So it really democratizes your ability to own a home, and then most importantly, ability to profit from your home as well. And so I think that these are kind of it's a lot, but I think these are the big opportunities.
Yeah, two things, Irina. I just want to ask, sitting in Asia, can I invest in a property in US through tokenization,
So it depends of what kind of a setup the US company did, right? So you will need to make sure that your entity has the ownership, right? So you remember US and anytime you invest in securities in US makes it a little bit harder. Now, if a company has taken an outside investor, you can, right? Because once you take one, you can. Right. The same for US as well. For example, I actively look for companies that are outside of US as well, because we build in global capital markets. This is not a US market, it's a global capital market. And by the way, my partners, A Global, their license, the tier 1 license is not in America. It's outside of America. It's in Asia. I'm not going to tell you more yet. You will know in your time. And here they have ATS license and they're working because US is harder to work with securities. They make small steps. They do progress. People think that they don't, but they do progress. So if you are an outside of US company and you have taken an investor, US investor, it actually makes it possible for investors to go in and invest in your company, which is one of the things that I think is worth doing, right? Now, it is more expensive. You do welcome, once you take on a US investor, you do welcome SEC into your family, they'll go through your laundry, maybe, and, it is extra thoroughly, but I think that here in US, we have a lot of expertise in investing, especially in the venture capital and just kind of innovations in a lot of other different ways. So I do like the idea of having investors from outside, right? Outside of your region. Now, the project needs to be big enough to be able to afford it. If you're startup, just do your network.
Right. Got it. Thank you, Irina, for those insights. That quickly brings me to Asia. Either Farhan or Amit can take that. Irina said because of the farmlands in US are going to be eventually tokenized because of the reasons she mentioned. What about, we're talking about real estate tokenization. Now we're talking about agricultural farmland tokenization as well. So do we see in Asia that trend as well? And how coronavirus actually helped or not helped accelerate tokenization or fractional ownership of these real estate properties, farmlands in Asia perspective? Who would like to start first? Okay, go on.
Yeah, so I feel the tokenization of farmlands, especially in Southeast Asia, is not started. See, tokenization is very similar to a REIT structure, which is a real estate investment trust structure, where any single real estate is divided into fractions, multiple fractions. Now, depending on the governing laws of the country where the asset is present, one is allowed to invest in that fraction. Due to COVID, what has happened is that everybody have started believing into doing digital. You know, whether it's ordering your food, whether going to a doctor, anything and everything, people are so cautious that everybody wants to do everything digital. So if I have to just give an example of India, so we had about 4 players who were trying to get into this fractional tokenization space just pre-COVID, which is, I'm talking about February. And today there are 11 players who have already built the tech in and who are about to launch, and we are one of them. So, and I came across this tokenization 4 years back, where I wanted to invest in a property in US as a fractional investor through Reality Mogul. And I was not allowed to do that, as Irina said, that you're governed by the local laws.
Yeah.
I think farmlands, I'm not sure, but purely from an investment standpoint, I think fractional ownership of real estate as an investment is going to definitely be on the prize. And like you have an opportunity to invest in equity stock, online through your phone, you will be able to invest in a commercial tier 1 great property from your phone or your app, and you will be able to buy, say, 1/100th of the asset and keep it with you as an investment. Now that asset can be yielding, can give you returns on a monthly basis. So you have a secondary source of income coming in, apart from the job you're doing, apart from the living you're doing, or which gives stability, right? So during COVID, people have realized that they need stability too much. People have lost jobs. There are a lot of negative things happen in the world. It's a full rigmarole. So from that perspective, token ownership, tokenization of real estate also has given them option where they can have stable returns on a monthly basis, irrespective of what's happening to the world, whether it's pandemic or it's anything else. So we see a lot of action happening that side as well.
So to that question, sorry, because real estate is considered illiquid market as compared to markets. So if there is no demand, how would you get yield stable returns I'm just not able to understand. How can you yield stable returns on your investment as a second source of income?
Yeah, so I will explain you. It's like you're buying, so commercial real estate investments has a rent yielding, right? Has every month would yield, annually they will yield a return of 7 to 9%, say in India, right? So you as an investor would invest in a commercial building where the tenant is, say, McKinsey, and they are paying rental to the owner. You become 1/100th of the owner of that company because you have invested in that space online through your phone app. And you have invested, say, maybe 100,000 Singapore dollars, and you say that, okay, I am 1/100th of that investor in that asset. Now, when McKinsey pays rent every month, that rent is further transferred to every fractional owner, investor who has invested in that property. So you are actually buying a pre-rented property where you don't need to invest, say, $1 million, but you can invest, say, a $50,000 and become a fractional owner. So what it gives to you, an access to a tier 1 category commercial real estate. For example, you could buy a Suntech tower, a small space in Contech tower, but you have 1/1000th of an investor. So it's very similar structure in terms of REIT. And so if it's so what we are trying to build is a sophisticated asset management and investment management platform where you, out of your savings, you say that I've worked for 10 years and I have my savings now lying. I have an option to buy a stock in Apple. I can buy an Apple stock, or I could buy maybe a Suntech tower. So, and you go to different apps and you just click on buying one single fraction of that.
You mentioned Suntech, that brought back some memory. Somebody was asking me, I want to tokenize my house, like his own house, and that was
that well, yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah, so the objective of tokenization has to be very clear, because I think a lot of new startups coming in, there's a lot of confusion in terms of what will it yield to. Technology is a great thing. I mean, every company today is a technology company, whether they're into agro, they're into fintech, every company has to be a technology company. But I think there's a lot of confusion going around as to what will be the objective of my tokenizing my real estate, right? So if it's not a home which you are living in, then tokenization will help, because you are investing in a home. But if you're living in that space,
Yeah.
and you're not able to liquidate, yeah, so why would you tokenize it, right? You will never be able to stay in it if you're a token of space. Yeah.
Very good point, because I was asked this question. Commercial tokenization is something that we've heard of, but tokenizing your domestic, the house you live in, I was like, what? But you just nailed it down. You've got a very good point, Amit. Thanks for that. Thanks for sharing that. Farhan, so I just want to ask you a question, around how has coronavirus we know has disrupted travel totally, right? A lot of things are happening in aviation, like in Singapore, like in the news today, a lot of dollars getting pumped in to do many things, upgrade many things in aviation, a lot of reskilling, upskilling of people as well. So when it comes to real estate, how was that market affected due to the coronavirus pandemic, and what's the future?
Yeah, thanks, Sunny. I don't have a crystal ball, but I think together, the four of us, Lynn, Sunny, I think we'll be able to create one and look into the future. I think I just want to add on to what Irina mentioned about, how the current situation, the pandemic and so on, have made businesses rethink their purpose. And I truly agree with that. And I think it's amazing how this, phenomenon is basically echoing throughout the globe. So it doesn't care which part of the hemisphere you're from, everyone's facing the same thing. So a lot of business owners are rethinking, at the moment, how should they move forward. I think with regards to Singapore, being in the middle of Southeast Asia, and also, our brothers and sisters in the region, Southeast Asia, I would say that I think one of the key aspects is definitely productivity, right? So with regards to property tech companies, I would say, okay, so that's the interesting thing. I'm not sure if everyone feels the same, but I think, with regards to the startup space, I would say that, okay, unless you're from tourism, right, or maybe a little bit of F&B, a little bit of tour and attraction, I think everyone who's in the startup space, I wouldn't say that they would feel that their business was decimated, but there could be a little bit of a drop, or maybe 30%, but unless, as if you're in the industries that I mentioned earlier just now, tourism, etc., then it's like almost 70-80% gone. So I would say that, COVID-19 basically for startups that were very deep tech related or very innovative in nature, I would say that, they were not too badly affected. At least this is what I see, with regards to Proptech, probably again, because a lot of the business is in B2C space. So people still are shopping for homes, people are still looking for rental. Rental has not stopped, right? Rental has not stopped, and people are still looking for rental homes, and there are very interesting rental apps in Vietnam, in Indonesia, that enables people. Previously it had to be the word of mouth. You want to get a rental home in Indonesia, right? It's about 200 USD to 500 USD per month. You have to ask your friend for some recommendation, but today it's all on an app. So I think those type of businesses were still thriving. But of course, if you look at the construct tech space that probably Luis was touching on a little bit just now, I think construct tech and all that, probably the owners, the people who have been running these businesses are probably taking a step back and probably rethinking, can I continue the way that I've continued the last 2 or 3 decades, how my parents have done it and how their parents before them, because a lot of these construction companies are passed down, right? So
but very labor intensive. So how would you, because of the social distancing?
Yep. So I think, in all honesty, with regards to labor productivity, I've not seen anything yet. Okay, to be very honest, I've not seen anything interesting yet with regards to labor productivity, but I think there have been some startups. So I think what I'm trying to say is that COVID-19 have made probably some of the tech startups feel that probably there's some space that they can, I think gives them a little bit more meaning, in some areas such as facility management, or I think there's a little bit of like a quantitative, what do you call it, surveying, right? How can it be done better? So I think a lot of these guys are thinking how to do things better, probably because of COVID-19. So as you've mentioned, because of the labor restrictions and all that, it is a reality.
Yeah.
So which is why startups are thinking, but at the same time, as I mentioned just now, at the beginning of my introduction, I said that, I think the proliferation or the success of Proptech, construction tech, etc., is contingent on everyone. So which is why it's important to get the buy-in from the property developers, the construction companies. Then only will the property tech companies and the construction tech companies strive, because they will be employed by the construction companies who have been given a mandate by the property developers. So so I think, but of course at the same time now, it also gives time for the building owners, property developers to also think, can things be done better? So which is why, as I've mentioned, PropTech development has been something that we've been working on at Meet Ventures because of the demand pool.
Right. Great insights, something that I came to know, something very new as well. I'd like to catch up with you, Farhan, to know more in the space later on.
Sure.
So thank you so much. Next, I'd like to ask Luis, I mean, because of the coronavirus, we just hear that people are moving away from cities into countryside. So, and cities are obviously very expensive when it comes to property. So what is the trend going to be? As I said, I mean, just predicting the future of people, are the millennials, or the people who are like, born this time, are they going to be investing in owning house properties, or there's going to be a fractional ownership trend which is going to pick up eventually? Because
Well, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to predict that. The one thing I will say, and I'm going to touch on a few things with this little bit of time, 5G changes everything. Okay, when you have the ability to be mobile, you don't have to be in New York City. You can be in Boise, Idaho, and you can still do the same business, connect with the same people on a global scale. That changes everything. This is why people are moving from big cities. They're going to the country. They're going where they can function. As 5G goes from the 2-lane to the 10-lane, you're going to see more of that. Irina was speaking about agriculture. You're gonna have farmers getting older and they're going to be passing away, so on and so forth. Agritech is going to be a big force in this, because you're going to have technology and artificial intelligence that will control these machines and automate the farming. When you do that, then you're gonna have a different phase of things, where it's not going to be the family business doing the agriculture. It's going to be big business doing it. And as far as the tokenization, is that something that is going to come to pass? I think that, when you're talking about REITs and things of that nature, usually you have accredited investors that are involved with that. Tokenization basically gives the opportunity to the little guy to go get involved in situations where normally they're shut out. So that's the positive part of it, because you're opening up a door for something greater. We'll see where that goes, because regulation and everything else is going to come into play. You have a lot of people that are standoffish because they don't know, oh my God, is this for real? Is it not real? What is it? Can they trust it? And all of that comes into play. Once they start going over that hurdle, you're going to have these companies start to flourish, and they're going to start to go in and branch out, and people are going to get more comfortable. The pandemic changed everything, changed how we work, how we live, and people think it's something that's going to change back. No, it may change back partially, but this is the new normal. This is our reality, and this is where we're going. We live in a digital age. This is going to even increase a little further. And Farhan, I want to just touch on what you were saying as far as the construction companies changing how they work. It's going to start with the municipalities. When they start changing, because they're building smart cities all over the world, when they start changing their standards, I don't care what developer you are, you have to adhere to what the municipality says. You can only build this here. They start adhering to it, then it starts sliding down, then all these companies start falling into suit. Smart cities, this is the future, period, the end. We can't avoid it. You're going to have that connectivity. You're going to have, you're going to have things happening that we don't even know about yet, but it's going to bring everything closer together, where you're going to have people in rural areas in the middle of the jungle that are going to have connectivity. So that's going to change everything, even with agriculture. If you can go and bring that and have connectivity in the middle of the jungle so you can farm, your business is going to boom. And now we go into logistics, how that's going to work and come into play. So that's another type of technology. So a lot of things are going to wind up happening, and this is a step-by-step process. I think that we're just at the tip of the iceberg of what's going to happen.
Right, very rightly said. And 5G goes into the middle of the jungle, things change.
Exactly.
Thank you, Louis, for that. Irina, I just want to have your thoughts about what's it. I mean, what are people going to do in coming future? I'm just predicting here, like, are they going to own all these properties, own or just fractionally own those properties?
I mean, as Louis said, it's hard to predict the future. And when I talk about tokenization of real estate or, farmland, I'm talking about $1 billion project that is designed for accredited investors to be able to. So it's it is less of a retail. Providing the benefit for the benefit trickles down there a lot, right? To kind of the unaccredited investors, just because by nature, if we are able to do that, we can trickle it out. And then also, of course, the SEC is becoming much more comfortable with looking at at what's going on with the crypto world. I mean, one of the big public companies actually moved all their money, all of their cash on hand in Bitcoin. So, like, I mean, that was a big news, guys.
Which one was that?
Yeah. $500 million of cash during this time. Their treasury, publicly traded company in America, they moved it. They bought $250 million in one buy, announced it, and then they did it on the other. And so it just kind of tells you where SEC and if you're a publicly traded company, you have to make sure that all regulators are on board with that. So like you just cannot go and do that without the permission. So it just kind of shows us too that US regulators are evolving, and I'm touching up on that because it's very important. Last year in November, the things that we were discussing were basically this was the response of regulators in US. That sounds cool. Basically, not that language, right? But so cool. Yeah, maybe like, we can make it like maybe 5-10 years. We can think about these things. March this year, US needed to start thinking about how they're going to distribute money to US citizens. And they were really looking, they were seeking who can build this solution in a blockchain, right? And so now we have actually several projects that are going in that are developing, like a wallet. So there can be distribution, and that's important. It just tells you where we were, and where we are now. These projects are in development right now. So I don't know who is going to, who is going, when it's going to be implemented, but there are several developments that are happening on that. I think that the future is in regenerative building. So like I said, we need to make sure that we change our building practices. And I think that's where we are. People moving to country is great. When we think about kind of a farmer, it is usually a farmer who owns the land, and then they have farm working, right? And those farm work, they don't have upside. That's why rural country is extremely poor. So what we can do, how we can pass benefits, and my portfolio company that's their thesis, is basically we buy land, and we, so it's fractionized ownership through, tokenization, one of the models. It's only one of the models, that they're looking at. for accredited investors. And basically what you do, you create plots, right, in the region where you do profit sharing with the farm workers, right? So with the working hand. So you allow them, because people are not gonna move to country and start taking over cattle, like it's a fun thing. Look, we have a farm, it's exciting, but people are just not, we need the automation and we need somebody taking care of it. And then you need somebody that knows how to do it, right? So, and the model is to basically giving back power to those people that are working on the land, empowering them, and then also empowering them through things like, if you increase biodiversity in your topsoil, you get a bonus check, right? So we can do all that with smart contracts, and there's actually benefits. Right now people buy land, plant trees, and then sell carbon offset. Actually, it's a problem because it's much harder for us to measure it, but we can measure it very well in soil. So we can do all these different programs that we built to where the farmers can actually go in, they can do regenerative farming, they can start replacing the topsoil, actually building up the topsoil, right? Instead of 2 inches, we want to have feet of topsoil, which is, by the way, about 60 years of topsoil we have on the whole planet. And when we don't have topsoil, we are kind of, that's all. Yeah, we cannot eat without it. The nature will, we will flush as we flushing topsoil into the ocean, we're flushing ourselves into ocean. But don't worry, technologists and people, visionaries are looking at it. And most importantly, there's money in it now, right? So now it's not, it's a nonprofit thing. There's actually good money in doing that. So that's what I like, is that we can make our world better and make a lot of money doing that. So, and being the freedom and the capitalist, I like that.
Thank you so much, Irina. I mean, that is a very good use case. And if that can be implemented in India, because as the speaker yesterday on the panel said, the farmers in India are not the same as the farmers in the US, right? They're really poor people, right? So if that is successfully implemented in US, as one of your portfolio companies is doing it, and if that can be maybe, probably implemented in India as one of the use cases.
So she was saying that they have problems with the rain. And when we look at the whole ecology, as we replace actually topsoil and increase biodiversity of topsoil, and grow the different types of grass and all that, and have our animals come in and do the work that they need to do. Animals are a very important portion of our ecosystem, and they have evolved to be that, right? So farming for vegetables is extremely expensive and inefficient. We're not going to save the world by creating vegan meat, okay? Because it's extremely expensive. It washes all. I mean, for ecology, it's not good. For us mentally, we think, what are we going to do with all the cows if we stop eating them? Do we make them, they're going to reproduce, okay? Now we're going to have overpopulation of cows, which is going to let them die and then bury it. Like, that logistic doesn't work. We need our animals. We need to make sure that we eat healthy and we interact with the, with the world. But, to me, that's kind of the key. And what we're seeing too is that those farmers, and now we have the data, those farmers that are able to do regenerative farming, they actually don't have problem with soil, because what happens is that your topsoil will absorb the water, and then you stop. Basically, water doesn't run off when it rains. It just holds it like a sponge, okay? And so we start being able to see, basically, I'm sure you guys seen pictures of people going into the desert and creating like this haven garden. It's through regenerative farming. We can actually solve problems in India. And that's one of the outreaches that we're actually working on as well, is making sure that farming and, in US, we're privileged to where we don't have to have this. This is just a way we see the opportunities happen. But in India, we need to see that happen, right? Because the population in India is real, Okay, we are facing huge depopulation problems. So when people talk about, we have too many people, well, we had problem of overpopulation. We're living through right now. We're gonna be, people are not having babies and they're not wanting to have babies and they're having babies later. And it's a problem, and it's a problem all over the world. As we become more digital, as our work becomes more possible to do the Zoom, we call them Zoomers, right? So we are all Zoomers because we can do work on Zoom, right? We can make right. So Zoomers, privileged and all that, but soon a lot of people will become Zoomers. We'll be able to automate a lot of things. And so as this happens, what is next?
Right. Great insights, Irina, as always. We are 5 minutes, over time, but that's okay. I mean, really very informative session. For me, it was very informative personally because this topic is something very new to me as well. So before we close the session, I just want to have some closing remarks and feedback about VCTV. Amit, what's your feedback and closing remarks for today's session?
I think it was phenomenal. So much of insight into how the world is changing and how everything is getting digital. I think it was absolutely a pleasure. Such diverse people from different zones explaining their ways. It was definitely a very good session. I loved it.
Thank you. We hope to have you again on our panels. Thank you so much. Farhan, what's your feedback about VCTV, this format that we have? Farhan, you are on mute.
Yep. Well, I think it's great. So while everyone was talking, I think while we're talking, we're also being watched by some people, and they have tried to communicate with me. But I want to end this first. I think it's good because I think was it Lewis and Irina's point earlier on about an hour ago about bringing in deep insights. Bringing in good content. I think that's important because if we're just going to cover the surface, then no one's going to be so interested. But I think if we're going to dig deep, and then we're going to give some insights, our experiences, and we all share our war stories. I think that's where everyone will be very interested because it brings a lot of value.
Thank you so much. Exactly. That's why we have these sessions Monday to Friday. 3 time zones, one Asia and twice in US. We're planning to have more Asia sessions as we speak between me and my colleague, Carol, who can organize Singapore time. So that's the whole point of having these sessions, to deep dive into a subject, into a topic, and not just talk superficial. Thank you so much for the feedback, Farhan. So Louis, what's your feedback about VCTV?
Well, I think VCTV is a good format. If they have the right panel, it'll be very informative for the viewers. And I think that's what this is all about, is giving information so people can learn. If you can learn, you can get something out of it. It'll help you with whatever you're doing. And if I can, I know that Irina was talking about, sustainable housing and that type of thing. I think that's important. One of our portfolio companies is involved in modular building, utilizing composite material, recyclable material, and having, reaching net zero standards, something like that. For any company that's actually in that space, they can do that and do that globally. You're bringing affordable housing. Look what they did in China. They built, I think it was like 1 million square foot hospital during this pandemic in a week. In a week. Okay, it is all, I'm talking about a hospital with all the components and everything. It is possible, and if we think smarter and work smarter, we're able to do it and get it done. And I think that with VCTV, as long as you guys have the right format and you're getting the right information out there, it'll be a good platform for companies like Amit, what he's doing, and for Farhan and Irina to go and showcase not only what they have, but also adding to the conversation. I think that's important.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Louis. Thanks for that. Nailed it completely. Thank you. Reina, over to you. I know you have very good things to say, but anything more than you would like to add?
I love VCTV because it reminds me of all the gatherings that we used to have in person. We used to hop around the world, and you would have people that you already know, people you just recently met, and new people, and this private gatherings or whatever, invite only, not only, but conferences too. Since I'm speaker, usually we are, we kind of travel in a whatever group. But it was really important to have that insight, and I feel like we would connect and connect and see what else everybody is doing. And what I realized with VCTV is that I can do it like 2-3 times a day and then still have super productive day, right? So, because before it was like, okay, I need to do this because it's just a need, okay? It's important, I think it's important that we do this. It's important to empower the world, to keep them updated on what we're doing, to support entrepreneurs, to just support each other. But also it's a way for us to kind of stay on top of the world as far as the information, who's doing what are the best practices, seeing what are not such a good practices as well, right? Kind of I like to call it, have a pulse on what is happening at the current state of the world. And most importantly, what is coming, right? Because we cannot rely on news. Usually we know what is going, full disclosure, I do not know anything that's going on in the world through the news. I do not watch news. I do not have time for news. I'm not interested in it. It's just not there, right? If you drop a reference to news, it will go over my head. But I know a lot about what is being built in the world, what things are coming up and all that, right? Because that allows us that connection. And before we had to sacrifice the work to be able to go and do this, and then have the balance of coming back. And it was like this dance, of back and forth. Okay, I must go. Now I must come back. I need the rest. Okay, I need to now plug in and, respond. And there's this natural flow to where we can come in, we can do this. We can even run 11 minutes over time, and it's fine because it's not costing us 3 days, right? Of travel and all of that. And then we can turn off, plug in, do work, follow up with each other. And then most importantly, everybody's comfortable with that, because that's a new reality. Zooms, calls, all that, I used to look at it as a waste of time because it was never, ever productive for me. I had to travel always to make sure that I have productive, truly productive, communication and move things forward. Not anymore. We're doing it via, Zoomers.
Yeah, thank you, Irina. I think Luis, sorry, just have to drop off. We're just finishing the panel right now. I mean, to your point, Irina, I mean, startups who are looking to raise funds, they had to travel. They had to pay for their flight. They had to pay for the accommodation. They had to pay for exhibiting at these conferences. Just imagine the amount of cost they had to bear.
Oh, I know the cost. Right.
Yeah. To pitch to investors like yourself. But now they can sit in the comfort of their home and be Zoomers like us, talking to you through Zoom. That's the point. That's the point. So at LATOKEN, we connect investors like yourself to the startups. Startups now can pitch on our platform by going to www.latoken.com/profiles. So they can see all your profiles there. All they have to do, just hit a pitch button. They don't have to travel. They don't have to spend money on hotels for 3-4 days in a different country. They're saving a lot. So that's the whole point. Thank you so much. I'm just conscious of the time, and Luis has to go. Thank you so much for some great insights again on these panel. I always love these panels because of the information I'm receiving as a host. And thank you all. Thank you all. And stay safe. Stay connected. Anything, Luis, you have to add?
Yeah, before I leave, I want to leave on this note. I want to send a message to entrepreneurs. I say this all the time. You go and you're creating, be fearless. Go and try to be disruptive in an industry. If you do this, you're going to have success. When you're looking at investors, look for investors that are going to help you, not passive investors. This is what you need to do. Don't be afraid. You're going to make mistakes, but keep pushing, because we need those bright minds to shine. And we need that. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Luis. And thank you all. Have a great day and stay safe and connected. Bye.
Thank you.